Celtic have heard that two-letter word that they do not like to hear. They've heard it with the Scottish Indie referendum, and now they've heard it with Juranovic in regards to his contract negotiations. Juranovic says no, and it looks like he could be ready to leave Celtic Park. Now, just because Josip Juranovic decided against signing a contract extension, in my opinion, that doesn't necessarily mean that he wants to leave Celtic straight away. Yes, he might not be willing to commit his future to the club any longer than he necessarily has to, but we need to keep in mind he has 3.5 years remaining on his current deal. That is a shitload of time, so it's not like he necessarily wants out in the upcoming window or at the end of the season. He might just not want to put pen to paper and do anything that cements him to be at Celtic longer than the 3.5 years. But I understand a lot of Celtic fans have taken this pretty badly. They believe that Josip Juranovic wants out, and I wouldn't be shocked if Juranovic left in January, considering there is a bunch of clubs that are interested in signing the Croatian right back, including Manchester United, Chelsea and Atletico Madrid, just to name a few. But from a Celtic standpoint, I don't necessarily know if this is a bad idea, if this is a horrible, transfer, if in fact he does leave the club. And I'll tell you why. Reason number one, he is valued at quite a lot of money. Now, there was speculation at the start of the season where Chelsea were considering a £50 million bid. Now, I do not believe that to be true whatsoever. I don't think they'll even get near half of that. I don't. But I do think for Josip Juranovic, I do think they could get around the 15 to 20 million. I think he is around that ballpark, considering he does have quite a long time left on his contract. Who knows? Maybe he could push beyond 20. I think 25 would be a stretch. I don't think he'd break the Tierney record. He's not as good as Tierney, but like I said, Celtic do have the advantage of having him tied down for another 3.5 years, so that will help with the value that they get for the transfer. So that, for one reason, I think Celtic could financially get a lot of money for this deal if, in fact, Juranovic decides to leave the club. And secondly, I actually believe Anthony Ralston is quality. I think Anthony Ralston's come on to such a really good game in the past year. He's had Scotland call up. Anytime he's been called up for Scotland and played for Scotland, he's put in really good performances. I feel like whenever he gets the opportunity at Celtic, I don't think he gets many, but whenever he is called upon, whenever he comes in at right back for Juranovic, I feel like Anthony Ralston is always putting in really good performances for the club. So I don't necessarily think this would be such a bad move for Celtic. They could potentially sell Juranovic for around 20 million and then give regular game time to someone who, in my opinion, is around the same sort of level as Juranovic. I don't think Juranovic is a million miles better than Ralston. In fact, I think they're very close. And with Ralston still being young, with Ralston still learning and improving, if he's getting regular game time, if he's playing for Celtic week in, week out, he's going to get better. And I think there is potential that he could be better than Juranovic one day. A lot of people might disagree, but here, it's my opinion, and we all have them. Keep in mind as well, we've got the World Cup, so you never know. A great performance for Juranovic in the World Cup could potentially, inflate his price tag, albeit you got to look at it another way. Perhaps a bad performance in the World Cup and his price tag could come down. But regardless, if I was Celtic, I wouldn't be too worried. If Juranovic leaves, then you know what? Who cares? You're going to get a lot of money for him regardless, and you've got a really good right back waiting to become number one. So Juranovic, could he leave Celtic? Might he leave Celtic? We don't know. We'll have to wait and see. 3.5 years left remaining on the deal. You obviously, if he wants to go, you want to sell him while he's got more contract time left remaining, but he could go in January, he could go in the summer. If I was Celtic, fuck it, I would try and get rid of him in January and get the money in and just promote Ralston as the number one right back. That's what I would do. Who knows what Big Ange is going to do. He could have a boatload of Japanese players ready to come in and play right back, so maybe Ralston will never be number one. But if it was for me, honestly, I'd cash in on Juranovic. I'd take the money. I think he's an okay player. I don't think he's a great player. I just don't. I don't see it. I don't think he's good enough to be in a Man United, Chelsea, Atletico Madrid side. That's my opinion. Some people might want to disagree. Now, speaking of transfers and players leaving the Scottish Premiership, let's talk about players that could potentially be coming in on a permanent basis, because Hearts are lining up a potential transfer for on loan Wigan striker Stephen Humphreys. And if this happens, I would say to Hearts, fair fucking play. When Stephen Humphreys first joined on loan, I was sceptical. I thought it was a bit of a panic loan just to try and add numbers to the squad. But he's impressed me in his short time at the club. And I know he's injured at the moment, so we're not seeing what he can do. But from what I have seen, he looks a player. He might have shite tattoos, but I can look past the tattoos if he delivers on the pitch. So Hearts are going to try and make that deal happen. And if it happens, I would say that's a really good signing for Hearts. I think Stephen Humphreys could be right up there challenging Lawrence Shankland for that number 1 position up front in a Hearts jersey. And last but not least here, Andy Robertson recently came out and said Scotland could be in Qatar. He said Scotland should be at the World Cup. And you know what? I 100% agree with him. But it's Andy Robertson's fault for being a fucking bottle job, for bottling the biggest game we've had in probably like 2 decades, probably since 1998. That playoff game against Ukraine. You know, we played great in the Steve Clarke era, yet we saved arguably our worst performance for the game that mattered most. And that is the fault of Andy Robertson and everyone else in the team. So if Andy Robertson wants someone to blame, why doesn't he fucking look in the mirror? But that's it. Josip Juranovic, could he be leaving Celtic? I think he will. I think it's only a matter of time. It just depends. The question is, what window is it going to be? Is it going to be January? Is it going to be in the summer? Or could he potentially leave after that? But for me, if I was Ange, if he doesn't want to be there, then get rid of him. Get the money in and put Ralston into the first team. And you've got, what, 20 million approximately, if that's what you get from him. That's what I would do, guys. Let me know in the comments down below. What would you guys do? Would you want to keep Juranovic? Would you desperately try and keep him at Celtic Park? Or would you be happy to cash in, take a boatload of money, and then put Ralston into the number 1 right-back position? That's the questions that need to be asked. So get into the comment section and start answering them. We'll catch you in the next video. But until then, until next time, been Fog Football. Peace.